Greetings, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Dianne Thomas, and this is my Certified High Performance Coaching Training Series in support of Dianne's CHPC Recertified Project 2017. It's an online crowdfunding campaign hosted at Generosity by Indiegogo, and it was started on April 17th to help me raise the funds I'll need to recertify as a Certified High Performance Coach in June. Now, this training series is going to accompany over the next several weeks, and it wraps on the same day that the campaign does, May 26th. And this training series is to help you get more familiar and become more aware of the framework that certified high performance coaches use with their clients to get to higher levels in the 5 pillars of high performance, which is clarity, energy, courage, productivity, and influence. Now, today's Clarity Monday, we're going to cover one pillar each day, Monday through Friday. So today is Monday. And with clarity, we are focused on, as we've been doing in the last videos, coming up with 3 words that represent, first, the best of who we want to be. Secondly, how we want to engage with others in the world. And thirdly, what is going to make us successful to continue the success we have, as well as to get even more success than we had. So I've been using myself as an example over the last few weeks because I have created a set of philosophies that I've been living, and I figured it would be a good example for you to possibly do the same thing and use this particular approach to getting to clarity while you're creating yours as well. Now, I hope you're not getting too bored and hearing all about me and these Clarity Mondays, but that way, if you are, hopefully that'll encourage you to share in the space below this video, as well as at Get Dianne CHPC Recertified 2017, because this is a 2-way communication. I'm speaking to you now because of the medium we're using, but going on those pages, whether you're going to make your comments here or at the Facebook page, will be your opportunity to give me some feedback so we can have some back and forth here. So I'm looking forward to hopefully having that happen. Now, as a reminder, as I mentioned before, these conversations on clarity are going to be from the framework that I use in terms of the 3 philosophies that I use to live my life by: lifelong learning, continuous improvement, and personal responsibility. And so, as I mentioned, those are my foundational philosophies. And so the 3 words that I'm going to look at this week in terms, or share with you this week in terms of my success markers as regards continuous improvement, are confidence through achievable outcomes, humility through admitting when I'm wrong, when I've messed up, accountability through not shirking responsibility and making sure that I am owning my stuff and not making any excuses. Now, I've adopted this concept of continuous improvement when I was a student in college years ago, studying business administration. And I found it a pretty fascinating way, just in terms of businesses making sure that they are constantly improving their products, their services, and their processes. And as it is defined, it's an effort that can happen over a period of time or all at once through some sort of breakthrough effort. So it's a quality improvement concept that's pretty similar to 6 Sigma or total quality management, for those of you familiar with that. And it's based on the plan, do, check, act process. So plan, which is where you identify the opportunity for change. Do, which is where you are implementing change on a small scale. Check, which is where you will analyze the results and see if any of those changes made a difference. Acting, where your desirable outcomes hopefully result then in wide-scale implementation of the process, and then a continuous system put in place to make sure that process is staying successful and viable. Now, me always seeking the shortest distance between 2 points, thought this would be a brilliant way for me to particularly attract or to deal with issues that I was dealing with on a large scale. Because as many people, you know, I'm also one that can possibly tend to get to make choices based on emotional reactions as opposed to thinking something through in a full process mode. And so it gave me the opportunity to make my decisions in a more methodical and less emotional way. And so it was empowering for me because I was able to come up with some practical outcomes that helped me to clearly decide what the best route was for me to take. Now, I think this is a process that all of us use in some way, shape, or form rather informally. And so I don't want you thinking that I was whipping out all my logistics and finding some sort of analytical way to approach all this with spreadsheets and all kinds of algorithms. It wasn't like that, though. There are times that you do and should be expected to be very thoughtful as you move through and consciously move through big decisions like relocating to another country, accepting a job, or changing professions, or even buying a house. I mean, those are things that you do need to take time, do research on, sit down and plan out what all the different scenarios can be, because they are going to impact you logistically, impact you financially and emotionally, depending, and certainly if you've got a family that you're having to make some considerations for. But it's a way to make a deliberate choice, and truly, when I was able to do it, it helped me honestly look at what was not working for me. And so, for the instance of even something as simple as me deciding to have a particular hairstyle or pursuing entrepreneurship, it gave me an option to have control over my life in a very practical manner because I was working through decisions. And at the same time, I'm not oversimplifying the risk of change. You have to think consciously, and that's why I was speaking, and I use that term pretty often in terms of conscious, because we're thinking through the responsibility. As adults, that's expected to be something that we do by virtue of our age and maturity. But at the same time, we all know people who will find excuses to not take responsibility for their lives, to sit back and let things happen and act as if they're just innocent bystanders. High achievers don't do that. And applying these success markers, at least for me, in terms of the continuous improvement philosophy of my life, I seek to plan for a successful outcome by ensuring that any new thing that I want to do results in my emotional, financial, and psychological growth even. Because even if the outcome isn't what I expect, I am looking for something that registers as growth for me. And then that way it helps build my confidence in my thought process and helps me be more accepting of the outcome if it hasn't worked out in the way that I wanted it to. I also seek to work through this by doing testing, if I can, in areas that I can. For instance, before I locked my hair, I had worn it in 2-strand twists for about 2 years. And then I checked to see it was something that I could maintain, certainly. And then just checking to see how viable it would be for me to just move to a more locked hairstyle. It was a natural progression. It wasn't much to think about. Now, that may not seem like a viable thing to even put through a process like this, but sisters out there who've been thinking about making some changes, perhaps a more natural hairstyle, knows that in the culture we live in, it's a very real thing. I also seek to try to remain humble and accountable to those who I'm responsible for, those who are counting on me. If I come with and maybe even have implemented something in a way of doing things or thinking about things, and it's not something that is going to work in the way that everyone else thinks it should, I need to be able to say, you know what, I messed up. I need to step back from this. I need to try to fix whatever situation I've encountered, because that then will help me be more accountable to the people that are dependent on me to make certain decisions. I need to be able to say I was wrong and to admit I was wrong and to try to make it at whatever it is I did or did not do right. So, as a high achiever, continuous improvement immediately, or just me, naturally leads on to high levels of performance, because we learn by doing as human beings. And so getting clear about what you're doing, getting clear about how you're doing it, and getting clear about whether or not you've done it right, regardless of the outcome, should always result in success for you. So, high achiever, I am hopeful that you will accept this continued challenge. We're on week 3, I think, of these challenges, to come up with these words. It's critically important. Put them in your phone, as I mentioned before. These 3 words, you can have little reminders with your phone alarms to get you back on track, because they really do help you in a more focused way. As I mentioned before, they're practices that you need to incorporate as high performers to get to levels of high performance as a high achiever. And this is one way that it'll help you do that, to make you feel more engaged in the process and result in success. I also want you to share what's come up for you, as I had mentioned earlier, and to look out for Persimtra, which is my talking computer head, little animation that you'll see popping up on my social media posts. And Persimtra is going to remind you about coming up with those 3 words to put in your phone, so that you can live with more precision, simplicity, and transparency, because really, that is the focus of clarity. We want to be more precise. We want to simplify things to the degree that we can, and be more transparent, so we can get right to where we need to be, when we need to be there. So, thank you so much for participating. Have a great Clarity Monday, and we'll see you next time.